What is going on, everybody? Cam Russelle here, back with another video. And guys, it has been a second, first of all. Second of all, I'm in a completely new space. Got an amazing new setup. Don't know if it's fully optimized yet, but guys, this is journey update number 4. And in this video, I'm gonna be trying out a new structure, or better yet, putting a structure into these journey videos. So what it's gonna be is I'm gonna start with the status updates of what's going on in the businesses. Then I'm gonna go to learning lessons that I've come across since the last update. And then I'm gonna wrap up by saying what's to come and what's on the horizon for the businesses. But before we get into things, guys, please, please, please like and subscribe. It really does mean the world to me, because I'm coming on here putting my time and effort to document this so that you guys can actually gain inside experience on how to build a startup at a young age, whether you're young or old. But as myself, doing it at 23, building a health brand e-commerce, as well as working on a more automotive business that's well established, but really trying to innovate. So bringing to you guys all of that information in these journey videos that are a raw inside look as to what I'm doing, the mistakes and wins that I'm having, and bringing them to you guys. So please like and subscribe, and that shows me that you guys are interested and want more content. So without further ado, guys, let's get into it. So first off, where the hell am I? If you looked at my last 3 videos, I believe one of them was at my parents' house. The other one was at the other 2 were at my condo in Toronto. Guys, I'm at the office right now of the used car dealership that I'm working at. Now, this, I've touched on this in the first couple videos, but it really has come to fruition that I'm working at a used car dealership as my quote-unquote side hustle, as I'm scaling my e-commerce brand Above Club with my partners. And we kind of all agreed that it makes sense to, while we're scaling it in the early stages, to prioritize making income, ensuring that we can make the right decisions for the business as we scale it up to the point where we can all go full-time in it, and take it from there, where our efforts aren't as fragmented outside of the business, and that's our sole focus. So for me, and I've mentioned this a bit, but again, I'm in the office, it's come to fruition. For me, I ended up getting an amazing opportunity with a guy named John Dewar, who runs probably the most successful dealership in Peterborough for used cars. And I had the opportunity to start doing marketing for him, and then it carried on into actually coming and working here, where I've got my license to sell some cars. But the big picture really for myself, and I've mentioned this to John, is to innovate the automotive industry. One thing that really excited me when I started doing Google ads was, in Canada, the US is definitely a couple steps ahead of us. In Canada, there's no innovation happening in the automotive industry. So I thought, what not a better way to pay for my expenses on an ongoing basis than to innovate and almost build another business, or better yet, innovate on an existing business, which is John's dealership, which we're planning on building out a software application down the road once we really fine-tune his business here as kind of the test grounds and the beta to what we're building. And so that kind of brings me into the updates, and I'm sure I'll be talking more on AutoSource and the office space and how it's going, but really talk on the updates of what's happening in Above Club and AutoSource. So from now on, when I talk about these updates, what you're really going to hear is, from a business standpoint, you're going to be hearing about Above Club, which is my main health brand that I have partners with out in Vancouver. And then you're going to be hearing about AutoSource. So John Dewar's AutoSource, that's the business that I'm currently located in, and working at on a retainer basis month to month. So those are the 2 businesses that I'm going to be giving you guys updates on. To start with AutoSource, There's a lot that I'm doing, but the main vision that I have for AutoSource that I'm currently rolling out is completely revamping his marketing and taking it from what is a really old and stale digital marketing plan and website and no email communication, no follow-up, to a completely new, simplified, stripped down website that is straightforward and focused on getting the customer to convert and giving them their information so we can follow up and nurture with them, building out an entire lead nurturing system on the back end. And then from there, even when they come in, making that appointment setting process very streamlined and allowing us to understand and forecast what we're doing from a sales perspective. And then from that point, being able to track everything back to front so we can really fine tune the conversions, what ads are performing, what isn't, because right now, none of that is happening. So currently what I'm doing is I just started the website. So right now I'm on the wireframe, building out the MVP on a program called Webflow. And the crazy thing is a lot of these dealerships, because they don't have, a guy like myself in there, really trying to innovate, they're spending so much money on these website providers that build a site and then charge a monthly fee they must be raking it in. But again, there's no innovation going on. So I actually went ahead and built on Webflow, and I'm doing all these workarounds with the site to ultimately create this one cohesive system for a dealership. There is a lot that I thought went into the whole management side when initially going into it. And that's one of the core learning lessons that I wanted to talk to you guys about on this video is never judge a book by its cover. I don't know if that's the best way to encompass this principle, but what it really means is never, when you first look at something for the first time, never think of it as big and scary as it might seem to be, and as it typically is when jumping into a new industry or a new project, a new skill. It really can be broken down extremely easily and into small chunks where, when broken down, it's almost laughable with most stuff. There's complex things like Elon Musk building rockets, but with most things, the car industry being one of them, you think it's very complex. You think, buying and selling cars and, dealing with cars and in the back end, it's all very complicated, but it's very, very simple. And the funny thing is the industry has built themselves up to be complicated, and so all these programs are very complicated. And so the lesson there is, when you're learning new things and when you're approaching a new industry or a new market or a new big project, never look at it as one big whole. Break it down, really understand what's actually going on, and then more importantly, because a lot of times humans have a tendency to overcomplicate simplicity. And one of our values at Above Club is actually don't complicate simplicity. And so what you want to do is look at everything that's going on and say, what's actually necessary? Because you can strip out 90%, 80% of what's actually typically there from whoever's been building in that industry or that project prior. Hence what I've been doing with AutoSource. So that's kind of the first learning lesson. And the second learning lesson is understand that you can make an impact and you can actually create change just because it's been this established, big, well thought out system that there's no improvements or there's no way that you can create impact. That's not the case. John has been around for 20, 22 years, yet there's so much room to grow and expand, especially in such a new market like we've experienced with COVID. So don't be afraid to tackle big projects. Don't be afraid to make change and create innovation, because there's always room to innovate. On Above Club, this is where it gets exciting, guys. There is so much going on. Oh my God. I don't even know if I'm going to be able to get through it all with the learning lessons that I want to talk about. But ultimately, guys, inventory hit the warehouse this week on Monday, which is crazy. You can even hear it. in my voice. I'm really, really pumped. So that's the first thing. We are going to be having ads launched and ready to go. I was just on a call with the team to start to refine some of the ads that we have that we're creating. Really, really exciting process to be able to make this thing, take off. We have funding, the time is ticking on interest, and we got to start making money, So ads are going up, inventory is in the warehouse, ready to rock, branded and everything, which is really, really exciting. The next thing is partnerships. Guys, partnerships. Really cool stuff. This is in the very early works. I'm just going to hint at it. But we secured a very big partnership for our new target audience, which leads us into the next point that we've shifted our target audience almost completely. Not completely, but a very dramatic since when we first started and what I envisioned that we were going to be doing from a marketing standpoint and an audience standpoint. So we secured a great partnership that I want to talk to you guys about more, but it's not really moving yet. It's secured, it's not moving yet. So once it's actually moving and things are going well with it, I will gladly divulge. But just know some exciting stuff on the partnership side with a company that we teamed up with for affiliate sales and brand recognition and all that good jazz. And who knows what could come from it, but really, really exciting. So on that note, guys, pivoting, man. Pivoting. It's interesting because one of the learning lessons that I wanted to talk to you guys about was from the Good to Great book by Jim Collins. And it's the Stockdale Paradox. And what the Stockdale Paradox is, and I'm paraphrasing, but it's ultimately having complete conviction and faith in the long-term vision, but being brutally honest with yourself and your team on what the reality of the situation is at all points in time. And let me rephrase that, what the reality of the current set of events going on in your business, in your life, in the environment, aka like the pandemic, right? That's a current reality that's going on. So having complete conviction in the vision that you guys you've set out. If you set it out, and I mentioned in the other videos, you gotta be setting up your brand identity and your vision for not only your team, okay, but everyone coming onto your team later, and then your community. They need to be able to identify that. I won't divulge into that. But what I'm getting to here is when we're pivoting, and when I mean we're pivoting, we started out by thinking we were going to be targeting 22 to 38-year-old male entrepreneurs that want to level up their health. That's who the Above Club was going to target when we first launched. That's who I envisioned. That's who I wanted to start with. And just recently, we had to look at the reality of things and say, guys, if we want to make it successful in advertising and catch traction early on, we need to pivot. And that pivot was going from male entrepreneurs to female that just want to better their health. And so not only is that a big gender flip, but it's also pulling the curtain back almost, or pulling the niche back a little bit from just entrepreneurs to just individuals, and particularly females that want to better their health. Now, in doing so, we have found that female entrepreneurs fit nicely in that. So we can still play the entrepreneur card, and we've actually shifted a bit to position ourselves to empower everyone to be a leader, because I personally, and I genuinely do think, and I know that everyone does have some kind of leadership responsibility in this world, whether it's with themselves or an actual team. Not everyone gets to the team level, nor do they want to, but you have to be a leader for yourself. And so with this pivot, coming back to the Stockdale Paradox, is although you might be set on doing something, and this is where you want to take things, and that's what you're really committed on, if you're not facing reality as it is, objectively, 110%, no, foggy vision, if you will, clouded by emotion, you are going to be able, you won't be able to make the right decisions for your business and for your team to ultimately move forward towards the end vision. Okay? And the end vision might be what you have imagined over here, but the current situation of events don't add up to being able to go to that rate right now. And so for us, we have to take kind of a pivot over to a different target audience, which we're completely fine with because my team is very aligned on how we think and how our mindsets are, which I'll talk about why we are in another video. But because we are, and because we understand the Stockdale Paradox, we know that we have trust in what the long-term vision is. So we know that we're gonna get there eventually, but right now, this is what we gotta do. And so with you, the entrepreneur, the individual trying to achieve things in their life, understand that although this might be the vision, and this is what you really, really want, it might not be the thing to do right now to get there. You might have to go around. You might have to, go under a bridge. You might have to climb a tree before you can actually get to that, the castle on the other side of the moat, okay? And so understanding that, being brutally honest with yourself that it's a long journey, not a short journey, if it is, okay? So the Stockdale Paradox is not only something that I wanted to share with you guys, it's in the Good to Great book by Jim Collins, check it out. But it's something that I've learned recently, and although I am really good at being fairly truthful with myself in most cases, it's definitely something that has brought in light to the business side of things, not just my personal life. Now, the next part is having depth of vision. And depth of vision really comes into looking at what things could be, even though they're this, right? Could be this, but it's this. Depth of vision is really powerful. Depth of vision is, and I'll give you the example that I learned depth of vision off of by my mentor, Kevin Trudeau, is he mentioned this little story that he was talking to his mentor, and ultimately his mentor picked up an acorn and he said, "Kevin, what do you see here?" And he goes, "Well, I know if I say an acorn or if I say a tree, I'm gonna fail. That's not the right answer. So I'm gonna say I see a forest." And he goes, "Okay, that's pretty good. You know what I see, Kevin? I see a city. I see a town. I see, paper mills. I see," and he went on to go 10x to what Kevin just described as this acorn could become, right? And the point of that is to say, having depth of vision is looking at, and how Wayne Gretzky would describe it, not where the puck is, but where the puck's gonna go. And having depth of vision really can look at a situation in its current form and say it can become this. It will become this. And having that conviction, going back to Stockdale Paradox, having that conviction that it will become that. And here's how. So having depth of vision is really, really important, especially if you're an entrepreneur listening. And the reason I say this is when you first start, if you don't have some kind of depth of vision, and the bigger the better, you not only will not be able to recruit top talent because they won't be sold on working with you for a very underpriced amount of money that you will probably only be able to pay them if this is your first startup, or even second. Anyone that you bring on afterwards, it's going to be very difficult. It's going to be difficult for you to continue to motivate yourself on a day-to-day basis. But more importantly, it's going to be difficult for you to grow. Even if you have good success early on with building with that initial idea and problem that you were trying to solve goes, to build a serious brand that turns into a Tesla or a Microsoft or a Facebook or an Apple, they had extreme depth of vision to say, I'm going to be building a computer, but soon I'm going to have a product for every use case for technology. Apple, Microsoft, right? I'm going to be building a sport electric car, but I'm going to then have every single kind of car electric and it be the best of its type out there. Tesla, right? I'm going to be able to connect individuals face to face over the internet, but I'm also then going to be able to turn that into the world's biggest advertising platform in the world, Facebook. Having depth of vision will make or break you if you want to take it to the big levels as a business. Although that's kind of a status update of our of what we're doing in our business is really focusing and dream boarding on what Above Club can turn into. At the same time, it's a very valid learning lesson that I wanted to bring on here and talk about, because it is extremely important as the leader, if you are the leader of a business or of the startup, to have depth of vision. So on that note, I also wanted to talk on one other concept from Good to Great that relates to depth of vision, which is called the hedgehog concept. The hedgehog concept, it took me a bit to wrap my head around, especially because I'm very fragmented in what I do right now just because of the current status of where the businesses are at. But the hedgehog concept is ultimately take one thing and become extremely good with that one thing. And so in my mind, doing all these things, it makes me feel guilty that I'm not just focusing on Above Club, but coming back to having depth of vision and where things are going to go. I know that what I'm doing now, going back to the Stockdale Paradox, I know I need to do that, or else the business wouldn't be able to thrive if I was under financial pressure and my partners were under financial pressure to make the business grow. So I know, and I was truthful with myself that I needed to go and get something consistent before doing that. The second part of that is once we are just doing, all of us are just doing Above Club, we plan on branching out to multiple products, because any 8-9 figure e-commerce brand will tell you you need to have a large product line. You just have to for repeat customers. And so with that, the hedgehog concept really kind of threw me for a loop, because I'm like, okay, if we're gonna have all of these products in all these different areas of life, how can I really utilize this hedgehog concept so we're just doing one thing really well? And then that's when it hit me about our mission and about our principles in terms of how we're actually branching out our products and what these products are meant to do for the human experience. And understanding that it's not quite about all the services and all the products you're offering, although that can be the problem sometimes with businesses, is that they're too diverse and they're not all connected back to a sole principle as to how you're building products, okay? And so for us, essentially what we're trying to do is we're trying to look at the daily human experience and break that down as much as possible to say, on a daily basis, what does a human go through? What do they experience? What products do they use? What foods do they consume typically? What situations do they typically come up against? And how can we either remove harmful, limiting products that ultimately don't benefit or don't do anything to you, but for whatever reason we're still using them, for reasons that we're just not educated enough to, there's not a better alternative. So removing those, or how can we enhance and optimize the human experience on a day-to-day level? Okay, we're sticking in the daily routine to actually put products that not only would enhance, but are simple to use and easy to integrate into your daily life, okay? So that's the core concept, and if we can really nail that, and say we provide products that enhance the human experience on a daily basis. Then we now look at only products that really focus on what the human does on a day-to-day basis. What products do they use? And some of them, you don't even know that you're using it. For example, a water filter. You don't actually know what's coming out of your taps or your showers, but the fact of the matter is that there are a lot of harmful chemicals, more and more, that come out of those. And if we were to all of a sudden put a water filter, which there's tons out there, but the education isn't there, and the use cases to really understand that and make it cool aren't there. So if we were to build a shower filter and a tap filter that made sense for the modern human to use, that was something that all of a sudden optimizes a human without you having to do any more work on a day-to-day basis. So once I really understood that, that really clicked to me. And not only that, but it linked back to depth of vision to say, holy, now that I have this hedgehog concept down on what that core principle is that we're trying to build for, and going back to depth of vision, I see red light being enhancing, the everyday woman's skin. But I also now see all of these other products that they also typically go through and use to be part of our product line now, because going to the hedgehog concept in conjunction with depth of vision. So those are my learning lessons. Those are the status updates, guys. And to finish off, what is to come? Well, for us, we are going to be launching the ads, which is really exciting. So next time I'm going to be talking to you guys, I'm going to be talking about all of the stuff we're doing in terms of our ads, email sequences, follow-up, retargeting, our strategy. And then on top of that, we're also going to be talking probably about shipment, fulfillment, the inventory, potentially the partnership, depending on if that develops. And then also on that note, we're going to be talking a bit, or going to be focusing a bit on operations. And then on AutoSource's side, AutoSource, really just building out the website. The website's going to be taking about 3 to 5 weeks, so any kind of updates I have in that time frame is really going to be focused on the website and building that out, and any insights that I have there in disrupting the automotive industry. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this. It is clicking 27 minutes now. So if you're still watching, I appreciate you. More importantly, I appreciate your time and presence to sit here with me to enjoy, which hopefully was some value. And till next time, guys, like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.